As if I was trying to wind you up. I resemble that remark.
Hi and welcome back to BookTube with Amy. So today I'm going to be doing the reading goals tag, and I was tagged in this by Scott and Nell over at Gunpowder Fiction and Plot, who are just like my favourite BookTube couple ever. They're brilliant. Please go check them out if you haven't already subscribed. They read so many different types of books, and they just have some really amazing, interesting discussions on their channel and bring far more thoughtful things to the internet world of books than I do. And the original tag was by Rosie Cockshut, who's also an absolutely amazing channel, so please go check her out as well. I would like to tag Ashley from Ashley's Media Addiction and Jem from Bookish Gems. So I do set reading goals, but not as in-depth as I've seen some other people do. I literally just set my Goodreads challenge for the year and decide how many books I want to read, and that's really as far as my reading goals go. Last year I set myself a huge TBR that I wanted to get through, and I set it so big because I'm a mood reader, and so I wanted to basically be able to mood read from that TBR, but then I felt like it was quite unrealistic to get through all those books. And what I found was I still read the books that I was really hyped for and I still really wanted to read, but then I was just getting to like the end of that TBR. There were some books on it that I clearly was not in the mood to read, and I was trying to like force myself to read them, and so I ended up abandoning the TBR because I'm a mood reader. So this year I decided that I wasn't going to try and set myself a huge TBR or anything like that. I was just going to do my Goodreads goal, and then the other challenge that I've set myself this year is I seriously need to finish that challenge, where I am trying to finish all of the series that I currently have on the go. However, I feel like because there's so many of them, like I'm still able to mood read them, and if there's any series on that list that I end up being like, I don't think that I will really want to finish this, or I read the next one, I'm not really enjoying it, then I'm just going to bin off the series as opposed to forcing myself to read it. So they're the reading goals that I've set myself this year. I think that I started setting goals just so that I had something to aim for, really. I went through a big period where I just wasn't reading. You'd be lucky if I read a book a month, and just wasn't like me, but it went on for a few years. So when Simon started the BookTube channel, he was making more effort and being more consciously trying to set time aside to read, and then I was doing that with him, so I was already reading more. And then when I joined the channel, I just decided that I would properly track my reading and see how I went for there to see what realistically I could read if I put a lot of focus on it. I think the amount of books that I want to read in a year is definitely something that I aim towards and I actively try to achieve. In terms of the types of books that I want to read, like this year when I seriously need to finish that challenge, like it's just so that I'm more mindfully making an effort at what I'm trying to pick up. So if I do not finish every single series that is on the list that I've set for myself, like it's fine. It's just that when I am book purchasing or when I am deciding what books to read, that I sort of have that in my wee ticker. Like, you want to finish this, you want to finish this, you want to finish this before starting another series. So that was something just to make myself more conscious of the fact, and I feel like I slag myself off enough about it on the channel, so like it was nice to take a step to try and not be such a scumbag. I obviously set my Goodreads goal at the beginning of every year, but other than that, I'm fairly comfortable like at shaking up my reading goals. I don't really have a specific time. Last year was also the beginning of the year with my big huge TBR that I set myself, because me and Simon had done our reading plans, and then in fact that wasn't even last year, that was 2 years ago now. What's that? I don't have any concept of time. But then I seriously need to finish this challenge was just brought on by seeing so many other people do videos on the series that they are currently reading and getting like major inspiration. So I think I set myself that challenge at the end of January, beginning of Feb. But I'm fairly comfortable. Like, I don't think there's a set period in time where I would be like, right, well, that's my only window to ever make a goal. I'm quite a reflective person, so I'd be comfortable chopping and changing my goals as the year goes on. Obviously, if there's anything that creeps up in the real life that inhibits my reading at all, then I'd be quite comfortable adjusting my goals. I don't think there's a set time. I don't think I do have any long-standing goals that like I would reset myself every year. I always try to read more than the previous year, but this year I've actually changed that. So last year my Goodreads goal I set at 25 because I was just sort of getting back into reading, and then I smashed that, so then I changed it to 75, and then I smashed that, so I just upped it to 100, and I managed to achieve that, which was brilliant. But this year I've taken into account that I'm going to be reading some chunky books, and a lot of the books I am planning to be reading are going to be books 2 and 3 in a series, so they tend to be a wee bit longer, and I have given myself the goal of 75 books this year, just to take into the account that I am going to be reading some books that are going to be a wee bit longer, perhaps a wee bit denser, so I'm going to be less inclined to just binge through them. And that's really about the only goal that I think that I would set myself. I always aim to, I don't have like a specific DNF goal, but I always aim to DNF a book a bit quicker, because I don't want to waste my time reading something that I am not really enjoying. And so I would used to read 100 pages of a book before I would DNF it, and then I dropped that to the first 50 pages if I wasn't really feeling it, because I always felt bad if I DNF'd it before that point, because I felt like I wasn't giving the book a real shot. But then at the end of the last year I actually started DNFing some books that I didn't even get like 50 pages into, just because like either the writing just wasn't for me, or I could already tell that the characters were just going to piss me off, or the author had made certain comments that just instantly turned me off and they were a bit problematic. So this year I definitely want to focus more on DNFing books if I'm just not feeling them, and not just persevering for the sake of getting a goal. But it's not something that I think I have actively thought about or actively set out for myself until right now. Because I don't set myself a lot of goals, and I don't really track a lot of book metrics really, other than how many books I read. I'm not somebody who like strives for a particular page count every month, or who tries to hit like different prompts, different genres, or different like author types. I just read whatever I fancy reading. So for me, I suppose just actively making an effort to track what I'm reading has been really successful. And like, I suffer with anxiety, and so like I'm a planner, and if I plan out like sort of what I am thinking of reading for the year, break that down by how many books I need to read like a week or a month or whatever, then that helps. And then also like I feel really good about myself when I get to mark a book as finished, because I feel like I'm chipping away at my goal and get to give myself a wee gold star, which is great. So probably just tracking how many books I'm reading. I don't make an effort to track anything else. Let me know if you think that I should. But it's probably the only thing that I track in terms of metrics. Probably just my humongous TBR that I set for myself. I am aware that I'm a mood reader, and so I try to make it as big, like I had said, so that I could mood read from within it. But once I had done that, I just found myself into a position where I was like really struggling to find a book that I wanted to pick up, and then I felt almost guilty, like if I was picking something up that wasn't on my TBR, because I knew that I had my TBR set out, and like you shouldn't feel guilty for picking up another book that you want to read like at all. So I just don't think that that did it for me. It ended up putting me in quite a big reading slump, and then ended up taking a bit of a break from making content, just because I was like, well, if I didn't want to read like I don't have anything to talk about in my videos. So this year, definitely mood reading 100%. The only things I am really sticking to are my Suki Stackhouse books, because obviously I'm hosting that read along, so it would be quite poor patter to be like, sack this, I'm not interested. But that's the only thing that I really have planned for myself. And like I say, I do have I seriously need to finish this challenge, but I'm fairly comfortable in picking up other books that aren't on that list. I'm not just going to absolutely blitz through every single book on that list, because I think that I would just get so fatigued with reading the same in a series. I do want to allow myself to do some standalones. A lot of the series are predominantly fantasy, and I do like reading other things as well, so I want to be able to dip my toe in horror, I want to be able to dip my toe in literary fiction and just do something a wee bit different sometimes. So definitely not going to be setting myself any TBRs again going forward. I think that I would change goals based on how the last reading year had went. My original plan for this year, because I had read 100 books last year, was to up it, not a huge amount, but maybe just up it to like 125 and try and push myself to read that wee bit more, because last year had been so successful. But then obviously I took into account that some of the books I'm planning to read this year are pretty chunky. I'm planning to read the Wheel of Time books, and they're like humongously long, so that's why I decided to pop it down to 75. But I think that I would reflect on the previous year and make changes to my reading goals and habits based on that. The only place that I track my reading goals really is Goodreads, because like I say, I do the Goodreads challenge every year. I know that there's lots of people who use Storygraph and Clopile and loads of different reading trackers. I just should use Goodreads to be honest. I think putting the focus on how many books I want to read has definitely changed, and that's something that started when I joined BookTube. It's not something that I've ever really considered before. And I never really thought like, oh well, this year I want to read X amount, and I never really planned out what I sort of wanted to read either, whereas I've obviously joined certain read-alongs and I'm hosting a read-along this year, so I've put more effort into some books that I would like to read that I can sort of mood read round about, and that's not something that I've ever done before, but I'm enjoying it. I think just one thing to be mindful of is like, everybody sets different goals, and I've seen quite a lot of people compare themselves to other booktubers, and even just compare themselves to other people on Goodreads who read a huge amount of books. And I've seen it on both sides. I've seen people who don't read as much feel like, oh, how can that person read so much, blah blah blah, and feel like they're somehow inadequate because they're not reading as much as that other person. And then I've seen the person who does read as much be told like that they haven't actually read as much, or like that somehow they are cheating the game because they're managing to read so much, and sort of tear them down a wee bit. Like, it's just books, it's meant to be fun, and like it doesn't really matter how much you're reading, what you're choosing to read, the quantity that you're reading, like how you're choosing to consume what you are reading, or what goals you've set yourself. As long as you're having fun with the books that you're picking up, then like I think it's all just a good time. I think that sometimes you can get too caught up in your goals, and I definitely did that last year with the huge TBR that I set out for myself. I was focusing on that far too much, to the point where it wasn't fun to read anymore, and I don't think that your goal should ever put you in a position where that's the case. I think that you should always just be reading for fun. So something to be mindful about when we're chatting about goals is, you know, they aren't the be all and end all, and if you don't set yourself reading goals and you still just enjoy reading, great for you, I'm pleased. And if you set yourself 10 bajillion goals and you track yourself across 1,000 different metrics, and it's something that you really enjoy and you feel it enhances your reading experience, then also great for you too. Like, but it's just books and it's not that serious, so bear that in mind. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you're enjoying everything that you are reading at the moment. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!